All right. It's been an interesting couple days. The entirety of my being has been more or less consumed by this new creative process that I figured out on basically how to iterate with AI music tools in some ways that really open up the possibilities for me. And I've actually talked about this in the past couple days videos that I've made. However, I've had some serious user error when shooting them, and so neither one really has usable videos, though I do still have the audio. I'm trying to figure out what to do with that. Either way, should be no excuses on like still being able to post them. But two things primarily, like one, I still wanted to use the audio and I just not 100% sure how to do it because I like what I recorded. But then two, I also recorded both of those around the same time, even a little later, more like close to midnight. And not functional for me. Not functional at all. So I have some things that I need to do better. And really, just the way that I've been working on the music the past couple days, like, not very sustainable. And I've had a totally one track mind of where I will basically be working on the main version of See Me Now until I like cannot bear to think about it anymore. And then I will be distracted for like 30 minutes until it just crawls its way back into my brain and then just rinse and repeat. But yeah, it's not really functional for me because I'm supposed to be recovering right now of like where I'd been pushing myself pretty hard on the weightlifting front. And I badly needed to take a deload week 2 weeks ago, and I didn't do it. And so this week has been my deload week. But I don't feel recovered right now. Like my elbow hurts from using my computer and typing in my phone, and my back is super stiff from sitting for super long hours. And it's just like it's not a good way to operate. And I also when I zoom out and look at like the have I done any singing at all in the past couple days? Not really any like meaningful intentional singing. Although I did on Thursday, but it should be every day, right? And it's just like I get the desire to want to follow wherever the music is calling me. I get the impulse there, but it's just not conducive to long-term success. It really is not sustainable at all. And then part of what's underpinning this is not just because I've figured out a new process that like feels like I've discovered the keys to the universe in some sense. I mean, like it right now I have to brute force it. It's very very rudimentary, shall we say. I'm trying to come up with a better word than that, but like we're still in the early stages of being able to iterate collaboratively with the AI, but it's wild now. Like I could basically just blend different pieces of different generations together, and it takes a long time, and it's kind of a pain in the ass right now. But that means that the possibilities are just wide open. Because I could say, oh, I kind of like this and I kind of like that. Can we take these elements of this and these elements of that to some extent? And that will only continue to get better as the tools evolve. And so that's pretty wild. And then in conjunction with that, the song that I'm working on is one that I'm extremely excited about. It's called See Me Now, and it kind of represents where I'm at this moment. And I think with all music, people will hear it how they want to hear it and how it is meant to them. But kind of what it means to me is like, if you could see what I'm building, if you could see what I'm working towards, if I could just give you my vision, it makes sense. If you could see me now, it wouldn't seem so absurd, this life that I've lived, especially over the past few years. think the best way to do that is to actually just translate it through the song. And it always will mean whatever it means to everybody. But like at the root of the song is an emotion that I think is pretty universal, just being misunderstood. And knowing that nobody can ever quite have the full context but us. And I would debate whether we can even have the full context ourselves. But anyway, so I'm really excited about this song. And then the other thing that is, I'm sure, kind of driving this behavior in me is that I've committed to launching on October 10th, which is a really important date for me. Not the most important date, but it's up there. And it kind of symbolizes the birth of Synfamous, which is my artist persona. And more than that too, but I will refrain from elaborating here. But anyway, it's an important date for me. And I want to launch the social media channels on that date. I already have them made. But I was planning to launch with my first video that day. Here's kind of where I'm landing at more. I think I'd be better off of not trying to run myself into the ground and getting both the song and the video up at the same time. Rather, I would much rather get the See Me Now done so that it can be released on the 10th, and then just make some sort of hello post. And I think that just realizing things are not going to be perfect and not everything is going to work exactly to my arbitrary timelines, and that's okay. Yeah, like I have been working very hard, but if I'm working hard in a way that is unsustainable, then that's stupid. And if there were like a really, really urgent short-term reason of why I absolutely needed to work like this, then maybe I could justify it for a season, but that just doesn't exist. I place some level of arbitrary meaning on this particular date, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't need to get done, but like that's part of why it is driving me to this extent. It's just like I'm stressing about getting what I was planning to launch the channels with was a video documenting the transformation process of You Don't Know Me, and I still may do that. I'm exploring other options as we speak, but yeah, we'll see what comes of that. But I think the priority is getting See Me Now live, and then after that, I do have some songs that are not far off that I could probably bring into reality pretty quick. But I think I'm going to prioritize, like, rather than making as much music as I can from that point, that'll give me 6, technically 7 songs that are currently live once See Me Now is up. And so that's by no means anywhere close to my full discography, but it's a start. And then I can work on getting the actual videos up and the failure to launch video up as well on November 9th, which is probably the most important day to me for a different reason. But then from there, I could just reevaluate of like, where am I at? What do I need to do? And still be continuing to work on releasing music at that time. But part of the thing too is just my process has been substantially enhanced, and so with that, it's taken me a lot longer than I think it will to do similar things in the future, I would imagine. Although I could be wrong. What do I know? But yeah, I'm just overall really excited about where it's going. There are never any guarantees, but I finally got this song to the place where it makes me feel how I need to feel. It's not done yet, but like I got the ending done, and it lands where I need it to land, and I know I have all the parts, and so it's just a matter of putting that puzzle together, but not wearing my body down to do it. Like it's just ridiculous, man. And the urgency is all in my head, and I guess gun to my head if I had to choose between having an artificially inflated sense of urgency or having no urgency at all, that I would choose the former. But nobody's making me make that choice. I can work in a way that is sustainable and do all the things that I need to do to be building the future version of myself, and also not totally leave behind everything else. And I don't think it's a good idea for me to exist exclusively in the bubble of like working on a single song for days on end. I think that is not conducive to the way that I need to show up in the world. There are obviously going to be pros and cons, but I could do better. And I think even if I just wanted to make it like in the argument of making a better song, the longer that I work on it, the more that I lose context. And I actually will do far more meaningful work if I take a little break, or maybe even longer than a little break, and then come back to it later. So I know better, and I can do better. But ultimately, I think this still rests in the camp of good problem to have, where I'm just really excited, and there are new possibilities that I wouldn't have conceived of before. And we'll see what happens from here. But it's going to be an interesting ride, that's for damn sure. And then as far as what else do I need to cover? So I'll see if I can figure out a way to get those other two videos up at some point, or like the audio for them up. I just want to, like, I don't want to post them as straight audio. I would rather have something that goes with that. I'm trying to figure out what that is, but it's nowhere near the top of my priority list right this second. And that's also part of why, like, I'm trying to be less arbitrary and guilt myself less over the rules that I made up. That, like, using my rules to help me drive action that are in line with the person actions, whatever, drive my actions. It's so silly. Okay. I cannot get caught up in the minutia of grammar. It really doesn't matter. You don't care. I don't know why I do. Anyway, so my rules are valuable so long as they are useful in helping me show up in the world as the version of myself that I want to be. But if they clash with that, I need to choose navigating my life as best I can over the arbitrary rules every time. And so I guess that maybe this is a question of like values versus protocols, that I should structure my protocols in such a way that they are in alignment with my values as much of the time as they possibly can be, but during the times that they conflict, then I need to prioritize my values, which I think is broadly true. I'm not really sure if this particular situation is a good example of it, because I guess it would have been pretty easy for me to just record another video even though it was late. I did try that. I just I kept making a mess. I've got to get better at structuring my filming setup for sure. But yeah. In any case, like I said, I'm in a good place. I just feel You know when you've been inside for a little too long, and I still got a decent amount of time outside today, but it should have been more, and not just inside, but like stagnant. And my body doesn't like this, not at all. And so I could do a better job. I could do a way better job. And I think that rather than being so consumed in a song that I'm like working on it until I hate it and then I stop until it pulls me back, I think I should do the opposite of that. I think I should wrench myself away before I hate it, go work on some different stuff, and then it's still going to pull me back. And then I actually end up not with. I think my time will be better managed that way because then there's not like the distraction burnout window in the middle. But then also, the quality of the work gets better for the reasons I mentioned before. So just there are diminishing returns the further that I drag myself through. Yeah. So anyway, I'm a little bit frazzled. It's not even a word I like to use, but there it is. And fair enough. I've seriously been listening to ever so slightly different versions of the same song as it slowly evolves for like more than 48 hours at this point. Well, that's not true because I slept and things like that. So, but like over the vast majority of my waking hours of the past, let's call it 50 something hours. That's a more fair characterization. And like that's not a good way for me to operate. I could do better. But I'm excited. And so that doesn't justify doing this again in the future, but I don't think guilting myself over the past couple days is helpful to anybody. And guilt myself over what? Like I've built a song that I'm really excited for. I feel the negative consequences of working that way in my body, and I just can't do this to myself because if I continue to do this, I know where that goes, and it's just I've worked in unsustainable ways before, doing so intentionally for a season, but this needs to be sustainable because I have no idea how long this season is going to be. It could be for 5 years. I sure as hell can't work like this for 5 years. But even where I was at 10 days ago, yeah, that does feel long-term sustainable to me. So I think being a little less rigid in some of the ways that I model the world and in some of the protocols that I set up to show up as the best version of myself in the world, I think that'll do me a lot of good. That's what I'm working on. And this is me just figuring that out. Like there aren't clear right and wrong answers. Like, what is the best thing long term? Is it for me to finish See Me Now and make sure that that's live on the 10th? Because that's what I'm going to do. Well, but even that, like, is that the right framing for me right now? Because I have the pieces for all three versions of it, but none of them are done, and sometimes that takes some time. So, am I realistically going to have that to where it's live on Thursday? I don't know. That's dicey. But I guess theoretically, if like I decided that date was really important to me, I could launch it just as a single, and then add the other two with it later. There's nothing precluding me from doing that. It seems reasonable. Like as just a failsafe to make sure that I can check off whatever nonsensical box in my head that I need to take care of. But again, contrasting that with like, would it actually be better if I focus my energy on getting the short form video rolling sooner? Maybe. I really don't know. And I don't think there's a clear right answer, and I never get to run the counterfactual. So that's hard. But that's life. And like it wouldn't be interesting if we knew exactly how it played out, right? And so I'm gonna choose to prioritize the making the music first, and especially for this song, I do want this one to be launched. But then I feel like once this one is up, there's plenty more songs that are already in the works, and just an overwhelming number that are written and that I continue to write, which again, good problem to have. But yeah, I think that not necessarily taking a break at that point, because I'm still going to continue to be working on it and still be like just pulled in by doing so, but maybe scaling that back slightly, and maybe shooting for a release every other week as I get more efficient with my process, even just for a month or two. Maybe that's a better way to go. And yeah, I don't know. But here's the other cool thing is I don't necessarily have to decide right this second. I just need to operate in a way where, all right, let's at least get the main version of See Me Now released on the 10th. And I already have my social channels, like they're live, so I could just do, like, ideally just post a link to See Me Now. Like, there you go, there's your launch. And then figure out what to do from there. But that strikes me as very doable. Whereas before, I was feeling kind of overwhelmed. So that's a start. And if there's like one theme that this channel has, and that I'm going to cover in more depth in the failure to launch video, getting it started is a hell of a lot more valuable than trying to get it perfect. And so this is me and what it looks like for me, trying to get over that idea of getting it perfect and just getting it started.